Hello, everyone. So today we got to play Heaven and Hell. It is a game about monks who, well,
They like beer.
Yeah.
there's yes. So basically,
Lots of beer.
you're going through and you're collecting different kind of seeds for beer and placing them. Well, resources, putting them
For
on your
different kinds of
board, yeah, and monks as well to, I guess, make them fertile land. Anyway,
The monks are fertilizing the land.
I mean, your resources are beer-like resources. Water, weed, hops. It all makes sense.
Yes.
I don't
I'll
know.
be honest.
There's no pooing by the monks in the game.
And it's months, so fertility's got nothing to do with it.
Yes.
So.
Well,
Okay.
they wouldn't say anything about it.
That's
anyway.
true.
listen.
That's how they keep
You
their
know what?
head shiny.
Here's the reality. I have no idea what the theme is. Okay, I just put tiles on a board and I move my guy around the map. Okay.
So in your land and in your imagination, monks are pooing on this.
And they're
No. What I'm saying is when the monks activate, they trigger everything around it. So I assume they're cultivating the land.
Okay.
It's got nothing to do with poo.
Or fertilizing.
I didn't say poo, and for fertilizing, I just meant they
Okay.
make the resources trigger.
Okay.
So we got some fertile monks making beer.
Yes.
They can leave this now.
So, Rob, what do you think of the quality of pieces?
No, we
Well,
gotta do who.
what? So
You can't even do it right.
That's why you were supposed to take over.
the base game came out in 2017. It's got a board game geek rating of 7.6, which is a pretty good score. The designers Michael Kiesling and Andreas Schmidt. The art's by Christian Fiore. Published by Eggert Spiel. Now the MSRP for the base game is $69.99, but we also have the expansion called Kegs and More, and that goes for $34.99.
Yeah, we played with both in
MSRP.
this game. So we'll go into kind of explanation of both
Yeah.
of them as we go through.
Okay.
And
So altogether, the price was $104.98 for both.
if you were to pay
Yeah.
MSRP, you can
MSRP.
find them at various sites for
cheaper.
lot cheaper than that.
Okay. So going into quality of pieces, I'll be honest. The quality of pieces reminds me of Castles of Burgundy. Like this is
Yeah, I can see that because
very
the
similar.
shape of the pieces are basically, I mean, they're exactly the same except for the monks, and but the art style's basically the same. We haven't reviewed Castles of Burgundy yet, so I'm not for sure who did the art. Maybe the same artist.
I don't know. We did Tuscany, but
Yeah.
we didn't do Burgundy.
And the art's different.
Which
Tuscany.
Burgundy is way better.
Well, you haven't played Tuscany, so you can't.
Yes,
really
I
say-
have.
No,
I
you
did the
haven't.
review with you.
No, you didn't. Rob and I did the review. It was on Guys' Night when we did the 3 games that night.
Oh, well, you didn't like it. I didn't bother playing it.
That's right.
I just slipped it from the mind of the
I
check
liked
off.
it. It was just kind of, it just wasn't as good as Burgundy.
Well, anyway, this just reminds me of Castles of Burgundy, except you actually have a board to go around.
And certainly unique mechanisms.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, apart from the fact that you use hexes to fill the board, I don't see any similarity
No.
at all.
I'm talking about quality of pieces. Wise.
Oh,
Like I
quality
feel
of
like
pieces. Yeah,
Yeah,
Like, this
I
is-
agree. The board is about the same quality, the thickness, the cards
The
are
dice
sleeved
are
up,
similar.
The dice are similar. Yeah, I could see that.
So, what's the score on it then?
Well, the only thing that's different, I guess, is with the expansion, you get this cart, which is kind of neat. You know, you don't get that in like a game like Castles of Burgundy. But I'll give it a 7. It's not great. I mean, there's nothing exciting about the pieces. It's completely functional. I mean, the art is a different story, but that's more theme. And I mean, the board's a decent quality board. The player boards are a little thinner. It'd be nice if they were a little thicker. Yeah, I think 7's fine score.
I'd give it a 6. It's not much better than Catan, in my opinion. But when we look at the MSRP price, it's a little steep for what we get.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
Yeah.
factoring it just on the components, I would.
Well,
agree.
right, but and gameplay wise too, I think it's still steep. But we'll get into that, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
but I mean, if we look at the MSRP is $69.99.
It's hard for us to value because I would never pay that. So
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Rob on this one. I do think it's a 6. It's not much better than Catan.
Yeah.
Theme wise, maybe not.
The resources are just very plain colored.
They're basically the same thing you get in Puerto Rico.
Cubes, except for the 10th anniversary edition, is much nicer.
But the base Puerto Rico.
And the upgrades I printed you.
True. But it's just, I'd stand by it. I think it's a good 6.
I agree with that one. So moving on to theme.
Clearly, she didn't know anything about it.
I knew there are monks involved, and I knew this map has to do with beer loading and unloading.
Yeah.
I think thematically, it's pretty good.
It certainly fits the name Heaven and Ale, because that's the whole point of the name.
Well, no, I mean, I understood. I just don't know. Are you a monk as well?
You are part of the monastery, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well then...
Yes.
So these are like your brothers?
Not only are you part of it, you are head of the ancient monastery.
Oh. And it's not just any monastery, it's ancient.
It's kind of like the hair club for men. I'm
but
not just a member,
why
I'm also the president.
Why don't you read the intro?
As head of an ancient monastery, you strive to provide with the people with heaven's best ale. After that, it just starts to go into gameplay. That's the story. The rest of it's talking about over several rounds, blah, 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 blah.
I think thematically, though, it's good. I mean, you got the different resources that is necessary to make beer, so that's pretty cool. And you got, I mean, even though we talked about the artwork not being great, it's okay. So
I didn't talk about the artwork being bad. I think the player boards look beautiful. I think they're very pretty. And they're very functional too, even in the art.
Well, no, they're definitely functional, but that wouldn't go very pretty in my opinion.
I think they're pretty. They got a nice landscape, and you've got the coin and the movement.
The color palette's really nice.
Intrinsically built into it, which makes it really useful. I mean, you don't need a cheat sheet because they built it into the player board,
right?
Which I thought was really cool. So yeah, I mean, there's really, I think they've done a really good job for incorporating things into the play area that you don't need to reference. And
but that's not really theme, though.
Okay, well, what would you want to put it under? It's the design of the board. I mean, as far as theme, you're making beer. I mean, you've got the components of beer on the tiles. You've got mugs. Beer. I mean,
I think thematically it's good. I like it thematically. It all makes sense, and the mechanics make sense for what we're doing in the game.
Yeah. So give it a score.
I think it's an 8 as far as theme.
I agree. I was going to give it an 8 myself.
I'm fine with an 8 because I didn't know what it was.
I mean, if you're going to make an argument anything, it's like, why monks? I mean, it certainly the beer piece makes sense. I'm not sure exactly what the monks...
back in this time period...
It fits the name.
Yeah, it definitely fits the name. It's almost like, okay, we're going to make it monks so we can call it Heaven and Ale.
No. Friar Tuck, too, from Robin Hood. He was a drunk.
No, it totally makes sense. If you're going with this... doing beer in the Middle Ages, the only people that... I mean, it was the monks that did that.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
All right. Next is rules.
Rules.
All right, so the rule book, it's been a long time since I've even needed to reference it, other than to get, like different player counts and the different modifications, which of course we didn't bother to do, and therefore we were supposed to only have 4 turns instead of 6.
Yeah, I've been bringing this to the table quite a bit recently. Just with me and Randy, it's a good 2-player. This actually does go really well for 2-player.
Yeah, you play with fewer turns depending on the number of players. And if you only have 2 players, you only play with 3 turns, and therefore half the game is left out. But you get more spaces because there's less competition.
Yeah, it fits well.
Yeah.
I think it's fine as a 2-player. Plays fine as 3. 4, you get a little combative, but that's fine.
The whole point of it is to be combative as far as taking spaces.
Yeah, but I want to curse at you at 4 players.
You were cursing at me at 3 players with more turns than you were supposed to have.
And can you imagine what I would have done at 4?
She might have actually cursed.
She is the only one at the table that did not get to complete her board, and that's really bothering her.
Because it's your fault!
But they both annihilated me score-wise, so she don't really have a whole lot to complain about.
No. Listen.
We're
going to talk about rules now.
Right. So, all right. So as far as the rule book goes, it's got a lot of pretty pictures, a lot of references to those pictures. It's really well designed. It's got sections that are color coded, so you can
Color coded.
Yeah, so you can see that's a very vibrant pink section, and there's a brown section, and
More colors.
yeah, and then they've got the reference on the back for what the different bonuses are. If because the iconography in this is pretty
It
self-explanatory.
really is.
But if you do have a question, it's right there on the back, so it's easy to get to. It's got your bonus cards over here, what they do. I think this is a 9 as far as the rule book goes.
Okay.
And then the expansion rule book is basically the same. It's just for the expansion specifically, obviously. And then the art is, the photos and images are a little smaller, which is kind of odd, but
It's a smaller rulebook.
yeah, it's half the size. So I guess.
Weird.
But yeah, I'd say it's a 9.
I agree.
Take your word
Sure.
for it. So let's talk about gameplay. So gameplay, if you want to sum it up, super easy. You go around the board, whatever you choose to. So you don't roll a dice or anything.
You choose how far you want to go.
You choose how far you want to go, and you have the option to do any of those actions that are available on that tile, whether it be by tokens. In the expansion case, pick up beer or pick up grain, or roll the wagon die, or be able to use a purple disc, which allows for production, or buy a monk.
Yeah, the unique thing is really not what happens on the space, it's what you do with your player board. Because your player board is divided into 2 sections, the light side where things grow, and the dark side where things generate money. So the idea is that you're going to plant things that are going to let you spawn money, because money is the tight resource in this game.
Very tight.
Very tight. You have to try to get that money somehow, and so when you plant, you've got to decide: am I going to plant this in order to move my barrels up further along the path, which is for scoring, or am I going to use it to generate income for future trade, for future profit? So if you put it on the income side, you pay the face value in money of what the tile is. If you put it on the light side, where you're going to move your victory points, you have to pay twice the value. So it's very pricey trying to score victory points in this game. Not only that, they don't necessarily even generate any points unless you trigger them, and it depends on how many, what your total sum is around these central hexes, which is your plantations. So whenever you fill the full hex, you add up the point values of each of the tiles, and that will determine how many of the individual hexes you will trigger to score for your either income or movement or some combination thereof. So it's a really unique system that they've built into this game as far as the boards go. And most of your planning is going to be not necessarily what you do on the main board where you're competing for resources. It's what are you going to do on your personal board, and how do I get the things from the main board to fill the personal board that I need.
Yeah, I really like the mechanic of the player board itself. If I were to have a critique, one, I wasn't very good at the game, so it took quite a few rounds for me to wrap my head around what I was trying to do. But there is a lot of luck involved. There's luck on which tiles come out onto the board that become available to you. There's luck with the mechanic we didn't really talk about, but you have a cart that you try and deliver the beer with that's based off of a die. So there is some luck involved in this game.
Well, I think the luck of the tiles coming on the board is not really a fair assessment in the sense that it's the same tiles that everybody's got. I mean, it may not be as beneficial for your particular needs at that given point in time.
Which is luck.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in the same pot, so, I mean...
Right, but how they're placed and where they're placed can make a big difference between you getting to them versus me getting to them versus Brandon being able to get to them.
Well, it's all about sacrifice. It's how, because if I really want that tile, I may skip 10 spaces in order to get it, but I'm sacrificing all those spaces before that you guys can take advantage of. So,
which is luck.
That's not luck. That's,
I think so.
No, that's sacrifice.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's the cost of, I'm going to sacrifice this cost to get that tile.
Well,
And-
I don't look at it that way, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I felt that there was a lot of luck involved, and that it just
Yeah.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either.
Well, the thing is, you got to realize you cannot be afraid of skipping half
Yeah.
the board.
Yeah, the last round, I mean, I completely blew off most of the board because I'd already gotten my board filled. There was a lot of stuff I wasn't going to be able to take
Yeah.
advantage of. So I rushed the last round, which made them rush the last round, and that's why everybody's mad at me right now.
I'm not mad at you at all. I mean, you played a good game.
She is.
Oh, I am.
I didn't do well, so it just kind of rubbed me a little raw.
So as far as the sideboard, this is what really the whole point of the expansion is kegs and more. So we'll go into that a little bit. So basically it adds this cart, which is really kind of cute. I mean, it's you have to construct them, but it's just cardboard, but it's well
Which is
designed.
good for Randy.
But-
Constructing things, you're usually not really good at constructing things.
Yeah.
So you did good.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
The tires are flat though. I don't know how it gets anywhere because it's just got a flat tire on both sides.
it's a sled.
Which is amazing because it's before tires were invented, other than wheels. But basically, you're delivering. This is all about making the ale.
Right.
This is about delivering the ale to the local taverns. So you've got inventory that you can store things in, and you get bales, or you get the beer, the ale barrels, and then you also get was it wheat or corn, whatever you're feeding your horses.
Your horse.
And you have to have one for every barrel. So you've only got, when you start the game, only 3 storage spaces, and then you have 1 that you can rent, but you have to pay 4 coin in order to store something in it. And once you empty it, then you have to pay it again if you decide to store it again, so it can get very costly. But you also have tiles that you put onto the main board in the central hexes where you would normally not have anything. You just plant the plantations when you complete the hex around them. Those will become either additional inventory spaces for you, or they have a bonus perk on the other side, and you get to choose when you fill the whole hex around whether you're going to claim the bonus or whether you're going to take the inventory space. So you've got cost benefit of taking those inventory, but it will let you store more barrels of ale and more corn or wheat or whatever it is for feeding in order to get more deliveries.
I wonder though. I mean, I just noticed, and it wouldn't have affected our game because we all played it this way. But is that saying 1 food for 2 barrels?
No, it's talking about you get half a barrel or
If
half
you
a
haven't
victory
delivered them at
point.
the end of the game.
Yeah, so I would have
Okay.
gotten 1.
Yeah. So the point is as you make your cart around the track, there's 3 delivery stations that you can deliver to, and if you can manage to get your cart all the way to the 3rd one with 3 barrels in it, you're dropping a barrel off at each of those spaces, so you have to have a minimum of 3 barrels. You can get up to 8 victory points on that final.
For that barrel.
The earlier steps you drop off at like 3 and 4, but you can upgrade them with some of the bonus tokens. So you can score a lot of victory points from just making deliveries, and that's on top of your standard game. So this is it's a completely detached bonus, or not bonus, but expansion. It's not required for the game by all, but it adds a lot of flavor to the game, I think.
Yeah.
But it gives you another mechanism for scoring in the game that can really change the dynamic of it.
Yeah. I do want to say, for it being the, what would you say, medium weight game it is, there is a lot of strategy to this. And the first couple of times that me and Randy played, we did struggle with what the strategy is. So, or we couldn't, or at least I know for me, I couldn't quite grasp my mind, okay, what's more important? How do we do it? Randy's really perfected what the strategy is. I did better when I focused on the circle against you. But, yeah, I think that's part of it, that don't come in expecting it to be as easy strategy-wise than some of the games.
It's not a forgiving game.
It is not a forgiving game.
It could be very brutal. Like, I think that again, not really knowing how to play the game well, I probably made a lot of mistakes early in the game, and there'd been no way I could have recovered from it.
Yeah, I think at the very beginning you spent your money way too fast, and I don't think
it was necessarily the speed. It was the fact that what you got for the spend, because you didn't really know how to place your tiles, and that's one of the problems and the struggles with this game as far as learning it. You have to know when you're going to run out of money, and if you've never played before, it's been a long time, you're going to make mistakes about how you manage your money in this. It's really what it comes down to, because you've only got a finite amount of money, and if you're going to get more money, you either have to have managed to create an area around a hex where you can trigger it by the hex placement in the center, or you got to sacrifice going in and playing it using a purple action, which means basically during the game you can collect these purple tokens, and when you play them you trigger one color of all of your tiles, or you can trigger the monks, which are another option for triggering tiles. But when you play it, you'll never get to trigger that color again. So if you do it early in the game, you're sacrificing the future potential or opportunity for that, but you almost have to do it. I mean, you're going to run out of money if you don't do it.
You cannot be afraid to do it, because what ends up happening is the last round, everyone needs purples, and there's no purples to be had.
Right.
So you're better off triggering it a little bit early.
Yeah, kind of doing it along the way, making sure it's like you got 6 rounds or whatever your count of rounds spending on player count, and you need to divvy up. Okay, I'm going to trigger this many purples each round, because if you don't, you're going to run into problems, because if everybody waits, you're all going to be running into each other.
Yeah. So
you've got to figure out, how can I optimize when I trigger them based upon the colors, because it's good to collect a bunch of the same color tiles, but once you've used it, there's no real point in collecting that color again. You can trigger maybe onesie, twosie based upon the monks, but otherwise, or the number. You have one option where you can trigger all of the tiles of the same number, but there's not a lot of good ways to get them again once you've triggered the color. So it's really a matter of optimizing your board, and
because it's not forgiving, there's no catch-up mechanism.
No.
So if you're playing against a really experienced group like I did, it would have been difficult for me to be able to even think about trying to win the game.
Yeah.
But I do like a challenge, so that's good. But think about that maybe if you're playing a game. I think if everybody was on the same level, it might have been a little different.
And as far as coming in, we tried to help you a little bit as far as the placement, but it's still it's a learning curve to try to figure out. Okay,
because you couldn't play the game for me.
If I run out of money, I'm really hosed. And you ran out early, and then had to sell some of your bonus cards for 3 money each, and that really hurts when you have to do that. I mean, sometimes there's a few that are. It's okay. Well, if I don't,
there's
do this,
one.
I think one is really all you can sacrifice. After that, it
the
starts
rest of them
hurting.
are pretty important.
Yeah.
Because those are really powerful. So you've got to really know how to manage your strategy around how you spend your money. That's really the big core to this game. The scoring will come. I mean, even you with the problems you had, you still managed to get all of your barrels into the positive by the end of the game.
Yeah, I can say that I did not do that the first game, first 3 games that I played.
Yeah.
So with that being said, all right, give it a score, give it a number, guys. I'm gonna force it.
I like the uniqueness of the mechanisms in this game. I think there's this. I don't really know anything to compare this to. I mean, you were comparing Castles of Burgundy, but that's just because it has tiles that look the same. As far as
I meant quality pieces wise.
Yeah. As far as gameplay, it's completely different.
It is unique. I can't think of anything out there.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that it's unique. I like the fact that I do somewhat well at this usually, but it took a while. I mean, when we first got it, I struggled strategically.
We all did.
But I like the way it flows together. I like it even better with the expansion. I think if you get it and you enjoy it, you'll want the expansion. And I personally think it adds a lot.
I did like the expansion. It was kind of neat being able to move that and that extra strategy of whether I use those little bonus tokens that you can get for either inventory or for little extras that you get, like making your cart move extra spaces or stuff like that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So I think it adds a lot to the scoring potential of the game. It changes the dynamic, so it's not all about maximizing your minimum barrels, because you can score a lot from the bonus tiles. You can score a lot from the delivery. So I'm going to give this one a 9 as far as the gameplay, just because I think it's so unique and it is a lot of fun trying to solve that puzzle.
Okay, cool. What do you give it?
I'd probably give it an 8. And I'm being honest, I enjoyed playing the game, even though I lost horribly. But it's a fun game. Like I said, though, the luck part of it bothered me a little bit, in my opinion. And so I give it an 8.
I'm right there bouncing between both of them. But I think I'm actually going to go with an 8 on this. It is a good, solid game. And I bring this to the table quite a bit.
Because your pick tonight, I brought up a different game, and you'd already set this out before I got up here.
Well, I don't even know what you brought out. So you said pick a game.
One for the future. The one I brought up was a Grail game, and I've been trying to play it for a long time. It's Discworld Ankh-Morpork, and we'll get to the table here soon.
Or are we gonna have to read rules?
It's only 6 pages of rules. Very simple.
Oh well, then that wouldn't have been too bad then.
But it's got a cult following. It's Terry Pratchett Discworld is
and you can't
one
get
of
a
the few
hold of it
books
unless you want to
I
spend
really enjoy reading.
A bunch of money on it.
Yeah, and it's I tell you now, don't if you see a review and you thought that looks interesting, they did retheme it though. They have a rethemed version they released, but it's not going to be the same without Terry Pratchett. Characters on it.
Right.
I mean, that's all there is to it.
I have no idea what you're going to talk about. So, all right. So we gave the scores.
Yep.
And then let's wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. We hope you would like to join us again if you want to. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. We'd love to have you guys again. Thank you.
Go fertilize some yards with the monks.
Oh, whatever. Bye, guys.
Bye.